I'm proud to bring you. It is 9 minutes to the top of the hour. The Rick and Bubba Show. We're back. 866 We Be Big the number. Of course, the government bailout vote that took place on Monday is big. Some of you that's yesterday. Others it was a couple of days ago. We do have one of our congressmen joining us from the state of Alabama, Representative Robert Aderholt. He is, of course, a Republican, and when you look at the votes, there were, I think it was 95 Democrats voted against it, and the overwhelming majority of Republicans voted against it. And I do see out of the state that he represents, he is the only Republican who did not vote for it. So welcome to the program, Congressman. Thanks for your time.
Hey, it's good to be with you. Thanks.
Glad to have you back on. We've spoken with you before at various conventions and times when issues came up, and, of course, today is one of those again. Congressman, tell us a little bit about the bailout package, why you voted against it, and why some of the other congressmen went with it. Where is the difference in this, and can you shed a little light, try to clarify that, really what this package was all about?
Well, the bottom line is why I decided to vote against it was that it was becoming very obvious that the American people just did not feel that this was the appropriate way to go, and it just was not a good piece of legislation. Now, the problem that all of us had to deal with in Washington, or I guess I should say what we had to balance that is that we knew that there's economic difficulty out there. We know there's uncertainty, and unfortunately, I think the Secretary of the Treasury came forward with this plan that was full of errors from the very beginning. It was improved, as you know. The Republicans were able to come to the table over the weekend and make some improvement to it. But basically, it was still a $700 billion bailout plan for Wall Street, and that's how the American people viewed it. That's what it was. And no matter what changes you made around the edges, it was still it was a bailout program, and the American people did not feel good about it. And so I decided that I could not vote for it.
Congressman, let me ask you this. If we do nothing, and we even heard from President Bush, and I know he is Republican, and we support President Bush probably on 90% of the things that he does. Some of them have just went a little too far we couldn't go with. But, you know, he's told us yesterday, he's been on the, national TV again this morning talking about how we got to get this done. Well, you guys are out today, which I'll be honest with you, a lot of callers are having a problem with today because we've been told this is such a disaster. They can't believe you're out for a holiday, no matter what it is. I understand it's a Jewish holiday, but if it was Christmas Eve, we'd be doing the same thing. That it was just certain disaster. But it didn't pass. The market is already back up. Right now I'm looking 255 points. So what if nothing happens? What's going to be what's going to happen if you don't pass this?
Well, first of all, let me address the issue about the Congress, what is Congress going to do and how quickly we're going to do it. Of course, we knew a Jewish holiday was coming up, and that's why I think a lot of people were using that as a way to saying that legislation, the bailout program that was on the floor yesterday, had to be passed because of this Jewish holiday coming up, and it was a do-or-die situation. And I think most people realize that you don't vote for a bad bill just because it's the only thing on the table. And but the message that I think Wall Street is being communicated today, and why you're seeing the markets are up, is realize that there are other options on the table, that just because that particular piece of legislation fell and that bailout legislation went down doesn't mean that Congress is just going to pack it up and go home and do. Of course, the elections are 30-something days away.
Right.
Every one of us who serve in the House of Representatives are up for re-election this year, so we understand the ramifications of that, and so we're not going to go home and say the heck with Wall Street and the financial markets and the economic difficulty that is out there. So I got an email last night on my BlackBerry as I was having dinner with my family that we're going to back in session on Thursday, and so we'll be presumably taking up some other alternative legislation.
Congressman, let me ask you this, a couple of quick things, and we've talked to some financial guys, Dave Ramsey being one of them, Walter Williams, who's the economics professor at George Mason, and they're saying parts of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act if you would repeal that, especially the mark-to-market requirement, that it would take care of about 70% of the problem right away. Another couple of quick fixes: do away with capital gains tax for a few years to get some cash influx into market projects, and just insure or put out some type of insurance for the bad loans, the ones that are toxic right now, as opposed to the government buying the whole batch. That those three things would make would do 99% of the work and cost about a third to a fourth of that big thing. Are any of those ideas being thrown around on the table?
Absolutely, and those things were even talked about over the weekend. Unfortunately, you had the Secretary of the Treasury and the administration that came forward with this plan, and we're selling it as if you have to. You have to buy into this plan or else. And unfortunately, I think people were seeing there were a lot of alternatives out there. We will hear more and more from other people. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. I think he is right on target when he comes to the economic issues. And of course, he was explaining that there were different options that could be looked at. And, clearly I think the American people were, they were more on top of this issue than most people were giving them credit.
That's so true.
And so I think those are exactly the mark-to-market issue that you're talking about is exactly one of the things that needs to be addressed. Matter of fact, I think that can be addressed through outside of legislation.
It doesn't even require a vote. It doesn't even require a vote.
Can the president do that?
Yeah.
And it would be, that would be an excellent opportunity to try to deal with capital gains tax, to suspend those for a couple of years. There's just a lot of options out there on the table, and I think that's what Wall Street is now realizing, that Congress is not going along with, of course, Paulson comes from Wall Street, and that's the people that he has been around. That's the people that he was with Goldman Sachs for many years. And
yeah, but we don't have kings. We don't have kings anymore.
Well, no, absolutely, and that's what my very point is. The fact is that the American people realize that just because somebody has been on Wall Street, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have all the answers.
Yeah, and plus the fact that he would be in charge of it. I mean, I don't want to hand him over $700 billion.
Yeah, Congressman, I think a lot of people are concerned, too. The very people who were on the watch, these were the people in the tower who were supposed to be watching. They were the weathermen of the economy, and they let this disaster, happen. So if they were not wise enough to see this coming and act, why do we trust them to fix the problem now?
Well, I think you're exactly right, and that's what the American people, like I said, I really give a lot of credit to the American people that they were, a lot of people say, this is such a complicated issue, and I don't consider myself an expert on Wall Street and on economic issues, but, I believe that the American people, and I know my constituents in Alabama and the northern part of the state of Alabama, I was hearing from them overwhelmingly that they did not feel good about this legislation, and not only was it a bad sign as far as not having concern about the markets and having credibility in the markets, but also in the representative form of government.
Thank you very much, Congressman. I'm sorry we got a hard break, and thank you for helping to clarify and listen to your constituents.
Rick and Bubba. 104.7 WCCK, Birmingham. The new home